It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction video 322. Day in that neighborhood. My brothers and sisters, this week has went by fast as hell to me, y'all. Like it's already Thursday, man, and it feel like fucking yesterday was Monday. You know what I'm saying? Like this week is going by. It's like a blur. And just being for real, this whole year, the whole 2023 feel like a blur. Like it's already September, my brothers and sisters. Like it's about to be fall again already, man. It feel like fucking January was a couple days ago. You know what I'm saying, man? But I digress. We're gonna go and get into this video. And it's coming from our right-hand man. Like this our homeboy for real. I really fuck with this guy. And that guy is Jose Ortiz from Evil Intentions. Evil Intentions, y'all. He just dropped this video less than a day ago. I think, like, if I want to be more precise, 21 hours ago. And the title of the video, forced to cut off her colleague's head. The night of horror in Queens. Headless body and topless bar. That was just a lot to take in, man. That was just a lot to take in. So somebody was forced to cut off her co-worker head. This sound like I'm not trying to be funny, y'all. This just the image just coming in my head. Just being 100, y'all know I keep it 100. It sound like a pimp made a stripper cut off another stripper's head inside of the bar where they were stripping at. This is about to be crazy as bleep. But before we see how crazy as bleep it is, my brothers and sisters, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need. We back to Jose Ortiz from Evil Intentions. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
Before we start today's video, I just want to start by saying that the words you guys see in today's thumbnail, that's not a headline that I came up with myself. A lot of people may be familiar with the headline from a 1983 issue of the New York Post. It's one of many famous front pages that the New York Post is known for. The headline, Headless Body and Topless Bar, was created by journalist Vincent Muschetto. Vincent knew that he had a very rare headline on his hands, so he sent a colleague over to the location just to make sure that the place where today's video took place was indeed a topless bar. And well, it was. And just like that, 40 years later, here we are still talking about it. Vincent passed away some years ago, but he'll always be remembered for his work in journalism. Now this headline is one that's been referenced many times in the past, even spawning a dark comedy of the same name, loosely based on the tragic events. Now despite the dark humor surrounding the headline, the truth is that that night in April of 1983 was anything but pleasant for those involved. It was actually a night of horror. Most of the names in today's story have been left out for privacy reasons, but I have to warn that today's video has a lot of details that are going to be very hard for people to listen to. So before jumping in, viewer discretion is heavily advised.
Get whatever you
got a good education?
Yes.
How? So what grade did you finish?
I went up to the 9th grade.
Oh, that's not good. That's not good. That's not good.
But
Turned around, you had a family and they struck at you or they struck at your family.
well, if I knew I was going to take that, if I knew I was going to take that chance, I wouldn't have a family. I won't get a family.
Right now, you're taking the chance with your own life.
Hey, yo, somebody tried to take my life already. He blew his chance, and I took his life. Now he's sorry.
There once was a time in New York City where things truly felt like the Wild Wild West.
Check it out now. Yeah, check it out now. Yeah, check it out now.
The areas many know as tourist spots were once home to drugs, adult work, violence, and other forms of criminal activity. This was a time where the city truly felt lawless. The introduction of new drugs and hustlers on the streets peddling them was becoming more common. Peep shows lined the blocks of Times Square and many other streets across the city. And once the sun went down, it was an environment where pretty much anything was possible, both good and bad. You could find people looking for customers from corner to corner somewhere like 42nd Street, long before a Toys R Us, Disney store, or wax museum was ever even thought of. Other parts of the five boroughs also suffered through many highs and lows. But whether it be the fast-paced way of life in the city or the growing crime rate over the years, if you found yourself living in New York City in the 70s and 80s, you might consider yourself lucky to have made it out in one piece. The darker times in New York's history tell interesting tales, many of them long forgotten. We're here to discuss one of those today. A story mainly remembered for its popular headline in the newspaper, but rarely addressed for how awful the event truly was. On today's episode of Evil Intentions, this is Headless Body in a Topless Bar, the true story of Herbie's Bar and Grill.
And I just gotta say real quick, y'all, just speaking on the New York back in the 70s and 80s, I feel like this not only goes for New York, and most definitely goes for California out on the West Coast, but even more, I feel like this just goes for the whole United States back then. Fucking cocaine fucked us up. Fucking crack, when that crack came in, when they changed that cocaine to that crack back in them 80s and that 70s and shit, that's why I feel like it was so crazy back then. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the main, I feel like that drug right there is one of the drugs that affected human history more than anyone. But let's get into the story.
Herbie's Grill was located at 18241 Jamaica Ave in Queens, New York. The local spot was one of a few businesses owned by a man named Anthony Herbie Cummings. Herbie was a resident of Queens and owned several businesses there. He owned locations like Players at 205th Street and Linden Boulevard, Herbie's at 186 and Jamaica Avenue, and Herbie's Bar and Grill, where our story begins. He also owned a spot called Night Fever, but that business shut its doors in 1982. Herbie was described by those who knew him as a good man, a family man who had a great relationship with his wife. Herbie's was known to host exotic dancers, and Herbie's wife also danced at the location from time to time. She would help Herbie run the business, and if she needed to dance once in a while to help out, she was okay with that. Herbie was known to be hardworking. Him owning and handling a number of businesses was a testament to that. Owning these businesses at a time when the city's crime rate was at an all-time high definitely presented a number of challenges. Herbie and his businesses were well known to police at the local 103rd precinct because of all the robberies that had taken place across all of them over the years. An officer told reporters that there was even a hostage situation at one of Herbie's locations. An ex-employee of Herbie's recalled how there was trouble in every location that he owned. She used to work at Players, one of Herbie's spots, and during her employment there, the place was held up 3 times. Night Fever was also held up. She was there for that too. She was quoted as saying, "They put a gun to your head, so you have to give up your money." But Herbie always said that if someone tried to rob him, he would never give up his money. The dancer would go on to express how the late night spots would also attract weird characters. Men who would say certain things to her and the other women hoping to start chats with them. She was more than happy to ignore them. This employee was first hired by Herbie in 1978 when Herbie owned a gypsy cab service. He saw her walking down the street and offered her a job helping him manage the company. Herbie was persistent and stated that he needed the help, so they exchanged contacts, and a short time later, she was working for him. When she started working at Herbie's other locations, the walk there wouldn't be the safest, so he would often make his way to her home to pick her up so he could drive her to the job safely. This was something that he did consistently, but that routine came to an end on the evening of April 13th of 1983. At some point that Wednesday, Herbie told his employee that he would be coming by her house to pick her up so that he could bring her to the bar around 11 p.m. Now this was something that he normally did. She waited for his arrival, but Herbie never came to get her. For a moment, she thought to herself she might just go down to the bar herself. It's possible that Herbie got busy or something came up, but at the last minute, she decided to stay home. Now this would end up being the best decision she could have ever made, because what she didn't know was that while she was waiting for Herbie to pick her up, Herbie's life had already been taken at the hands of a madman.
Damn. Okay, I was off with my prediction. I'm thinking it was strippers who got their head cut off, but it's Herbie. So this was some man out to get him, I guess, wanted his money or something, trying to rob him. I don't know. This shit might got to have something to do with drugs and all that too, like I was talking about earlier. But yeah, I was wrong. But let's see what the hell happened to Herbie.
According to reports, that Wednesday evening, Herbie and his wife were working at Herbie's Bar and Grill, a bar that also had nights where exotic dancers performed. They were with a few other workers. The bar had no customers at this point, until around 6 p.m. when one customer walked in, a man named Charles Dingle. Dingle was a security guard by day, and it was said that he wanted to be a police officer. But with his rap sheet, however, that would never happen. He gave off a boisterous vibe, acting like he was a big-time hustler who had deep pockets. He insisted he had plenty of money to spend, and so, for 2 to 3 hours, he spent time at the bar with Herbie, his wife, a dancer, and a barmaid, knocking back drink after drink, and Dingle was buying. He also began using coke as they drank and spoke on.
You heard that, using coke. I'm telling y'all, man, I already know y'all know back then, boy, that cocaine, that got that cocaine and that crack pipe, boy, that was the shit.
Drank some more, and after a while, as he boasted more about how much he had to spend, Dingle would make Herbie an offer. He offered to buy part of Herbie's Bar and Grill, expressing how he wanted to own part of the place. This, of course, didn't rub Herbie the right way. This was a business he built himself, and the vibe Dingle gave off didn't sit well with him. Herbie refused the offer, not that he necessarily believed it was a serious offer to begin with. He would then present Dingle with his check before asking him to leave. Dingle stated that there was no way he was paying that bill, a bill that in his opinion was filled with overpriced drinks. Dingle got up and began to leave as asked, and he refused to pay for all those drinks that he had boasted about being able to buy. A violent argument began between the two, and Herbie would get up and go after Dingle, who was already by the front door, about to exit the bar. He stopped Dingle in his tracks so he could pay for those drinks, but what he didn't see was that Dingle had reached into his pocket and taken out a .22 caliber revolver. He would lift the gun up to Herbie's face and pull the trigger, shooting him once between the nose and left eye, killing him instantly. The bar was calm and quiet just a few minutes before this, but the scene had changed dramatically and was now the scene of a callous murder. Those in the bar couldn't help but be hysterical at what they just witnessed. Dingle then drew the gun on the dancer, Herbie's wife, and the barmaid in a crazed, drug-induced panic as he decided what to do next. He spoke to himself, asking himself if he should just end everyone's life and burn the whole place down. The three women were horrified and in shock at the tragic turn the night had taken. They ran to the back room of the bar and locked themselves inside to try and escape Dingle, but he would break the door down, gun in hand, as if ready to do the unthinkable. With nowhere to run, he handcuffed Herbie's wife and bound the two other women with Christmas lights that he had found. He then went to go lock the door to the bar to avoid anyone from walking in and being alerted to the horrors that were inside.
Time the fuck out, y'all. Time out. T.O. for real. Do not tell me that this dude, whatever the fuck his name is, got the two other women to cut off Herbie's wife's head. Because Herbie didn't get his head cut off. So we still don't know who got the head cut off yet. Herbie just got shot in the face, which was a crazy big ass shock to me. The way the man just boom, real quick, just shot him, boom, no question, no talking, just boom, just shot the man, killed the man. But are these women gonna end up cutting off this lady head to try to save their life? I know I be thinking crazy as hell, y'all, but it sounds like that's plausible, right? Let's see.
What came next was equally horrifying. One of the women who had been bound with Christmas lights, the dancer mentioned earlier, would find herself face to face with the madman. Dingle would turn the volume up on the bar's jukebox and then grab her. He then proceeded to violate her right there, just a short while after she had witnessed Herbie's life get taken. This was her first night working at the bar. He then went back to the bar and continued drinking, going on with his night. A while later, at around 10 p.m., someone would start banging on the front door of the bar. Dingle opened the front door and told the person outside that the place was closed. The person knocking was also employed at Herbie's as a manager. She didn't recognize Dingle. When he said the place was closed, she pushed past him, walking into the bar anyway. Her sister had just dropped her off, and by this point, she had already driven off. The bloody scene she now found herself in was the last thing she expected. Now, the gun was pointed at her, and she was face to face with Dingle. He took her purse and started to look through her belongings, searching for cash for his getaway. This is when he came across her business card. The card showed that this woman was also the director of a funeral home and a licensed mortician. She was working at Herbie's to save money for school to further her career. Dingle assumed this meant she would know how to do an autopsy because she worked with dead bodies. This gave Dingle a terrible idea. He looked at the woman and said, "I won't leave here with any bullet in any body," because he didn't want the bullet traced back to his gun. He then tossed her a steak knife and ordered her to remove the bullet from Herbie's head. She was held at gunpoint and in fear of losing her life as well, so she did what he asked. As Dingle did more coke and poured himself more drinks, the woman would begin digging the knife into her former friend and colleague's head, trying to take the bullet out. She tried and tried, but it just wasn't possible. The bullet was lodged too deep in his head. As if this wasn't already twisted and gruesome, out of utter desperation, Dingle would order the woman to cut Herbie's head off altogether, and if she failed this time, she'd for sure be killed next, along with the others. He gave her an additional steak knife and a kitchen knife, and she did what he demanded. Somehow, after almost an hour of trying, she managed to fully decapitate Herbie, leaving the dancer, barmaid, and his wife hysterical as they looked on.
Okay, what the fuck, man? Seriously, what in the hell? What kind of logic does this dude got? What kind of logic is that? I killed this man, and in order for me to get away with it, even though I got all these witnesses, I got 3 ladies locked up in the closet, and one of them is the dude that I killed, wife, and I got you, and you the manager of this place, who he is the owner of that I just killed. Only thing I need to do is just make sure that I take the bullet with me. And if that mean I gotta have his head cut off to take that bullet with me, I'm gonna take that bullet with me. And that gonna mean that there will be no evidence that I killed him. Well, motherfucker, what about the 4 people that's in there that's witnesses to all this shit, bruh? Have you ever thought about what they gonna tell the police?
They would spend the next few hours locked in the bar with Dingle, covered in blood and walking on eggshells as he continued binging liquor and snorting cocaine. At 4 a.m., a car horn went off from the street in front of the bar. One of the women stated it was her boyfriend there to pick her up. Surprisingly, Dingle told her not to mention what she had witnessed a few hours ago, and he let her go. About an hour later, around 5 a.m., one of the other women was released almost the same way. It was the dancer and barmaid who were released, thanks to the mortician being so calm and talking Dingle down. Dingle was now left with Herbie's wife and the mortician. As he drank on, he insisted that they drink too, hoping that they'd get so drunk that they would forget what he looked like. The night and morning of horror continued. At around 6 a.m., Dingle decided it was time to flee. He would order the 2 women to go out to Herbie's van that was parked outside, putting Herbie's head into a cardboard liquor box to take with him. Herbie's head was covered with New Year's Eve decorations that had been left at the bar when placed into the box. His idea was to get rid of the head either in the river or just about anywhere it wouldn't be found. Dingle couldn't start the engine to the van. He left the box with Herbie's head in the van and went back into the bar with both women, making a call to a local gypsy cab service shortly after. A few minutes later, a 1972 Lincoln pulled up to 18241 Jamaica Ave to pick up Dingle. The driver walked into the bar to announce his arrival, but before he knew it, he had a gun in his face and he was being ordered to do as he was told. Dingle would grab the driver and take him into the men's room of the bar, where he tied him up. He then took the women into the cab and took off, leaving the cab driver behind at the bloody scene. A few minutes into his getaway, Dingle remembered that he left Herbie's head behind in the van, and he had lost the keys to the van too. He turned the cab around and went back to the bar. While he was there, he found a screwdriver that would help him break into the van. He took Herbie's head and got back into the cab and was once again back on the road. While behind the wheel, Dingle realized he was driving erratically, swerving in and out of the lanes, so he ordered Herbie's wife to drive. She took the car onto the Grand Central Parkway, and a few minutes into the drive, she began falling asleep at the wheel. The mortician shouted at her from the back seat, trying to wake her up. She pulled over, and Dingle now ordered the mortician to drive. As she drove on, Dingle drank rum straight from the bottle and snorted more coke. Herbie's wife was in the back seat, next to her husband's head. It was about
Did y'all just hear that shit right there? Can you imagine? You know, I love to have us put ourselves in a situation like that. Can you imagine being kidnapped by a motherfucker who done killed your significant other? So y'all in the car together. But not only are y'all in the car together, the motherfucker who killed your significant other got your significant other head right there, right by you. This is crazy. Dingle is all over the place. I remember his name now. Fucking Dingle. Dingle ass is all over the place. He doing all crazy, type crazy shit. He fucking up, leaving. I don't even want to say that. But I'm saying, let's just say it. He fucking up, leaving a man head behind that he done goddamn had somebody cut off because he want to keep the bullet from it so he don't get caught. He snorting and drinking, won't stop. He on this big high and drunk trip. Like, Dingle is just all over the place. Dingle needs to be stopped ASAP. And I'm trying to figure out now how he gets stopped. And I hope nobody else get hurt. Hope these two women don't get hurt.
8:30 a.m. when the three would arrive at 168th Street and Broadway in Washington Heights. They stopped at a traffic light near Presbyterian Hospital, and to the surprise of the two women, Dingle was knocked out cold, falling asleep after a long night of drugs, liquor, and a lot of blood on his hands.
Good for his ass. I'm glad it happened like that too. Cause like I was just saying, he on this high and on this drunk. You keep on doing that shit for long enough, your ass gonna end up just passing the fuck out. And that's what he did. And I hope he gonna wake up in cuffs.
Dingle was in and out of consciousness, randomly pointing his gun at the two women, but he continued to pass out and remained in the car. Herbie's wife and the mortician saw their opportunity to escape, jumping out of the windows and running for their lives to the subway station nearby. The two women hopped aboard an Express A train to 59th Street, Columbus Circle. They went and got the attention of an officer at the station and told him everything that they had witnessed and been forced to do. When they told him, he was shocked at what he was hearing. He said he thought the women were crazy, so he called the 103rd Precinct in Queens to verify their story. The cab driver who had been held captive and left tied up in the men's room at Herbie's bar earlier had already freed himself by this point, and he called 911 to tell them what had happened. Police arrived and found the bloody scene and Herbie's headless body. This made it very easy for the officer to see that these women weren't crazy at all. What they were telling him was true. Once he confirmed this, him and 3 other transit officers took the mortician back uptown to 168th and Broadway, hoping to find Dingle. A local police unit was sent to the scene, and someone inside of a parked car was pulled out of the vehicle and apprehended. But as the mortician and officer looked on, she would realize that this was the wrong car, and police had the wrong man. She directed the officers to a car on a different street. Shockingly, he was still inside of the car. The transit officer who confirmed the story walked around to the passenger side of the car, where Dingle was, and saw Dingle was starting to wake up, and he was reaching for his gun. This is when the officer realized that he had left the station at Columbus Circle in such a hurry that he had left his gun behind. He quickly found himself in a struggle with Dingle, trying his best to wrestle the gun away from him. The officer was able to overpower Dingle and take his gun away, putting it to Dingle's head as he forced him to the ground. He was then able to cuff Dingle without a single shot being fired. The hectic scene was starting to get under control, but not before the officer looked in the back seat. Officers already had word of the body at Herbie's with the missing head, and when the officer looked inside of that box in the back seat, He moved the papers and New Year's decorations to make the sickening discovery. He let the other officers know that he knew exactly where the missing head was. He was looking at it. Dingle was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison for kidnapping, violating the dancer, weapons, robbery, and taking Herbie Cummings' life in cold blood. It's crazy to think that someone could take a person's life, take people hostage, violate a woman, force a woman to behead her friend, and still have a chance at freedom. Many would agree that a life sentence was the appropriate response to such a heinous crime.
Yeah.
Either way, Dingle would one day be eligible for parole.
Crazy.
By the year 2010, Dingle had already been denied parole 3 times. In a strange attempt at his freedom, he would begin to deny any involvement in the horror that took place at Herbie's in 1983. He said he had spent much of his time studying the law and fighting this conviction. He was studying to become his own lawyer. He said if he appealed, he wanted to become a paralegal. He was quoted as saying, "Don't think I don't have hope. The board might let me go one day, but until then, I'm gonna fight. That's all I can do." The sad and sickening truth is that he's right. Time and time again on this channel, we speak of the monsters who commit these crimes and how they're able to come home to live normal lives. These families are forced to live with the fact that while their loved ones are buried, these people are alive and well, breathing.
Man, evil intention. See, I was trying to be calm about it, y'all, because y'all know every time that I hear that these motherfuckers do these crazy ass crimes, and I just get emotional and get mad as fuck. But I was just trying to be calm and just trying to keep my composure, man. And it's just, we hear about it so many times how these people do these crimes and they don't do the justifiable time. Give them life in prison and be done with it. We said it time and time again, and here go another case, and like Evil Intention saying right now, man, he have covered so many of these cases where these people do these heinous ass fucking acts. Kill all these people, not just one person. I don't care if it's just one person. One person is enough. You know what I'm saying? But they still be able to get out, and I'm still getting mad about it, and I try to just keep my damn composure. Give these people life in prison. Point blank. Period.
Fresh air, living in their neighborhoods. Getting a degree behind bars doesn't erase your past. It doesn't take away the trauma those involved had to suffer. And it certainly doesn't make you a changed person. Some things can't ever be forgiven. Dingle was denied parole once again in 2012, and this would be his last attempt. He would never be a free man again. Because according to New York's incarcerated lookup, he died behind bars later that year, in May of 2012. Friends and loved ones of Herbie could at least be at peace knowing this man would never roam the streets again, and he would never be able to do anything to harm anyone else. And now I might have left them unnamed for privacy reasons, but Herbie's wife and the mortician are the biggest reason Dingle ended up behind bars. The mortician's ability to talk Dingle down and get authorities is why he was apprehended. They both displayed amazing strength in going back to where they last saw Dingle. Most wouldn't want to come anywhere near that man after what they had just witnessed. The officers just couldn't grasp that this was real. But these women were determined to see Dingle behind bars. Without them telling their story and showing who was responsible for it all, this might have been one more on a long list of unsolved crimes in New York City. A New York City from much darker times. Rest in peace to Herbie Cummings. And my deepest condolences go out to all involved and his loved ones. You aren't forgotten.
Rest in peace to Herbie Cummings, man. I try, like I said, man, I tried to keep my composure, y'all, but it still just struck me, man. It just struck a nerve, man, that these people can commit these type of crimes, man. And like I said, just killing one person is bad enough, and that's what he did. But then you gotta compound it with a lot of these people kill multiple people. But even in this case, just all the other stuff he did, kidnapping, forcing somebody to cut the person's head off that he killed, sexually assaulting somebody, like putting people through torture, man. Literally, like, these people just should get life and just should be done with it, y'all. Just should be done with it. The other part that I want to talk about real quick is I got a little theory. I got a little conspiracy that I hope y'all can follow me on. Now, it could be crazy as fuck, but I'm still gonna say it. As far as Dingle go. Now, Dingle, like I just repeated just then, all that horrible stuff he did to Herbie, right? all that fucked up shit he did to Herbie. But he never killed anybody else. When he could have. He had what? He had 3 other women he could have killed. The wife, and then the other girl who was working there, and then the mortician who came there later on that was the one who ended up cutting off Herbie's head. He had opportunity, plenty of time, plenty of opportunity to kill both of them. Then the dude who came in later that he ended up tying up, he had opportunity to kill him too. Okay? Why didn't he do it? I think the reason he didn't do it because, and I know some of y'all probably gonna disagree with me with this, but I feel like sometimes these people who do these who murder and shit, they do it, then they realize like, damn, I just killed somebody, and they hate it and they don't want to do it again. Like they not really that type of person, man. They just fucked up in that flash moment when he was walking out that bar without paying for all them goddamn drinks and shit, and he got mad when Herbie tried to stop him and just shot him real quick before he even thought about what he was doing. Not to mention that he on all this coke and drinking, and he drunk as fuck. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make an excuse for him at all, and not at all. He did the crime, he do the time, and I'm glad that he spent the rest of his life in prison. But I'm just trying to say that I believe that he ain't killed nobody else because he didn't want to do that. That was not what he ever intended to do. That was not who he really was in his heart and in his soul. You know what I'm saying? He probably just spazzed out at that moment, and that's what happened. And at the end of the day, yes, that does make him a killer. And like I said, do the crime, do the time. I ain't trying to make no excuses for him, man. I don't want y'all to think I'm trying to make excuses for these people, man, because at the end of the day, man, they just, oh my God. Let me just stop talking. I don't want to talk about it no more, my brothers and sisters. And I digress, man. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button, comment, subscribe, do all that for me, and make sure you come on back tomorrow because we going to AJ from the White Files. And until I see y'all tomorrow, my friends, love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.